universe is filled with galaxies. Our own galaxy, one of these galaxies, in many respects, an average galaxy. Galaxies are defined primarily by what you see as the stars. Our sun is stars.
This is a story of evolution of a people in deep water, at war with itself, struggling to make peace, in a race against time, to build a coastwise nation. It began in a time of unspoiled coastal waters, where fish overflowed. Hardly anyone went hungry, and fishers were kings of the sea. And the people said, "Surely this will last forever." This is the Philippines, with more than 7,000 islands and waters as far as the eyes can see. In that part of the world where the ocean is most vital and dynamic. But no, 40 or so years ago, the first alarm was sounded. A rapidly growing population, destructive fishing, overfishing, pollution were making the sea less productive, with fewer fish for fishers to catch. Soon, once bountiful fishing grounds began to feel the pinch of a shrinking resource. In the 20 years that followed, awareness of the growing problem of coastal resource degradation began to build, slowly. It was a time of martial rule and central government control. Policy and budgetary decisions emanated from the top, influenced by national officials' perceptions of what was happening on the ground. But policy was not always clear. On the one hand, there were moves to correct the fisheries situation. In 1975, a presidential decree sought to reverse the decline of marine habitats by banning destructive fishing practices. A series of policy issuances then set new rules for coastal resource use. By the time martial law was lifted in 1981, the Philippines had become a signatory to the CITES, an international agreement between governments to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. And yet, through all this, the government also dictated increased exploitation and use of coastal resources by promoting the upgrading of fishing operations to industrial level and by encouraging investment in new, more efficient technologies. In the 70s and 80s, mangroves were clear-cut for fish plant development in a misguided attempt to boost the country's fishery production through aquaculture. Despite what the law said, the destruction of marine habitats was pervasive, fueled by increasing competition for a diminishing resource. By 1980, mangrove forests were less than half their size 60 years before. In this dichotomy, a free-for-all situation festered in the country's major fishing grounds, sweeping disadvantaged small fishers to the extreme edge in resource distribution, deepening the already alarming poverty in the coastal zone. But even under the threatening clouds of coastal degradation, a few bright spots shone across the country, lighting up the otherwise bleak prospects of fishing communities. Hope was first born on Sumilon, an uninhabited island off Cebu, where the Philippines' first marine reserve was established in 1974 to answer the question, what is the maximum fish yield that can be harvested from a coral reef? At Sumilon, scientists, together with a local mayor, designated a no-take zone where fish could feed, grow, and breed, protected from all types of fishing. Around this fish sanctuary, the waters were cleared of destructive fishing. Over 10 years of protection, fish abundance in the reef tripled, resulting in substantial increases in the fish catch of fishers dependent on the area. When in 1984, Sumilon's protected status was abruptly ended by a change in political leadership, the scientists went away with a valuable lesson that marine reserves do indeed improve reef fisheries, with major benefits to fishers. And then, to shield protection efforts from changing political biases, they set out on a new course that would emphasize community involvement in coastal management. Make resource users the primary managers and protectors of the coastal resources on which they depend, and get the process of integrated coastal management moving. In 1986, people power toppled the dictatorship. A new political order was installed. It was a good time to take stock of the nation's health. In the coastal zone, the few shining examples of community-managed marine reserves showed what an empowered people can do to reverse the tide of destruction in their coastal waters. On a national scale, such achievements were not nearly enough. The sea remained in a critical state of health, and sea-dependent communities were increasingly becoming desperate.